density matter until the time of the next harvest, in which time you will need to have proved yourselves that you have learned how to be more positive beings, focused more upon being of service to others, rather than seeking only to serve yourself. When you can do this, and the next harvest comes, you will have earned the right to join us, and enjoy your inheritance, as a member of the galactic community, and you will sit with us as brothers and sisters of the One, around the table of our galactic governing body, the Confederation of Planets. Well, I have imparted much during this session, with thanks to the quality of your enquiries, and I must now take my leave for today. If you have further questions on the harvest you wish me to speak in more detail on, if you ask, I can answer, or any other questions you have too on other matters, I will get to them all as time allows, as with the other, respectfully asked, questions here since I took these away with me to reply to earlier. If time permits, I will check in with you tomorrow. A lot of what you write seems reminiscent of the raw material, especially the concept of harvest, STS and STO choices, and intelligent infinity. More information found here www.llresearch.org. Have you read that? It is indeed extremely similar. We both originate from the source of the infinite creator, and we both remember where we come from. I would expect our messages to contain the same core truths. The messages of the 6th density soul group Ra is the most accurate information in your mainstream circulation at this point in time. It is approximately 85-90% accurate. From what I have seen, the material was brought to my attention when it first came out, something like about 25 years or so ago, if memory serves. I read a lot of it, but not all. I do not have very much free time for that kind of thing, with my many duties, though others of the family gave it a close scrutiny to judge its accuracy, and were very pleased with the end product. Ra, in fact, is the group I earlier termed off-world entities of which visited the Mayan and Atlantean civilizations. We are acquainted, and friends. Both our group souls are at a very similar level of development evolution, both 6th density, nearly 7th, but like us, Ra also chose the path of service to our fellow galactic brothers and sisters, you, and others. Instead of further progression home, we would recommend that material for any who truly seek understanding, though, as I said, it is not 100% accurate, so take what resonates. What function, if any, do alien abductions have? Why are abductees chosen? That depends upon who is doing the abducting. Most of what you hear termed as abductions are conducted by your own governments, especially the ones where the so-called Greys are involved. Other than that, sometimes the Confederation will meet with certain incarnates here who have a part to play in awakening others to the coming harvest. These will always be positive experiences, and those who have them will feel uplifted and inspired by their contact. Then there is the Orion Empire group. Their purposes in visiting you are more along the negative lines. They mainly target the ones you have called lightworkers. They try to put them off their assignments and try to spread fear. They will not actually harm you physically. Mainly their modus operandi is to restrict you and deflect you from your path. They often engage in cyclic attacks that the lightworker is unaware of, but it does often drain away much of their energy and make them lack motivation. Why do you want a negative harvest? It is complicated to put into words, and also I must be careful with what I say on this. I've already had a slap on the wrist, you could say. If we do not have a negative harvest, we are bound with you for another cycle. Once this great harvest is completed, our contract with the council and our creator is also completed. In other words, we have done our duty, and would be free to return to our fullest expression, that of 6th, nearly 7th, density galactic guardians, and ones who joyfully offer ourselves in service to the one infinite creator, and to our brothers and sisters across the galaxy. However, there is a problem. Well, you would call it a problem, we call it a challenge. I will address this later in more detail, in response to another question, but in short, we need a very high percentage of negative polarity, if we are to achieve a negative harvest. In other words, we have to be self-service centered to an extreme degree, in order to become negatively harvested. This is why we work so hard to be as negatively polarized as we possibly can be. If we do not make a high enough percentage, we will miss out, and will end up with the majority lukewarm percentage, that have to go through another cycle in 3rd density. By attaining a negative harvest, we can still graduate to 4th density, only it will be a negative polarity planet. Not a great place to be, but, as I've stated previously, we, as a group soul, have incurred the natural karmic restitution process that we must work off. for all the negativity we have caused upon this planet. We will do this for a cycle in our new 4th density world, and then we will be free to once again be the glorious being of light that we truly are. We need a negative harvest, so that we can create our 4th density Earth, and clear our karmic record. Understand that we have to be negative. That's what we were sent here to be. It is our contract, and it has always been to help you, by providing the catalyst I spoke of earlier. Being negative is very hard for us, not on a physical level. The characters we play enjoy our roles, as we're programmed that way, but on a spiritual level, it is hard. We surpassed the lowly negative vibrations eons ago. We are light, and we are love. It is a very hard thing for us to do spiritually, to create all this negativity, but we do it because we love you, and it is for your highest good. Ultimately, you could say that it is our sacrifice that we have made, in order to be of service to the one infinite creator, and to you, our brothers and sisters in the one. Remember, we are all just acting out a grand old game here, where we agree to forget who we really are, that in the remembering, that we may find each other again, and know that we are one, that all of life is one. I must correct you here. The precession of the equinoxes cannot cause this. It cannot cause anything other than the way in which we here on Earth view the cosmos around us. It concerns the wobble of the Earth's axis and as far as I know does not relate to any other planetary bodies. From a 3rd density perspective, you are correct. It appears that way. We do not look from a 3rd density perspective. There is a bigger picture at work that you cannot see. Regarding our enslavement, you seem to be saying, essentially, that as fractions of our Logos Yahweh, we are equally responsible for his decision to keep us trapped here on our 3rd density planet Earth. That's an interesting thought. In that sense our total freedom must arrive through a collaborative spiritual effort. From a certain perspective, what you say is correct. From a 3rd density view, you see yourselves as being separate from everything. From a higher perspective, you see that is not at all the case. You and your creator are one. As to your statement on your total freedom, you are not responsible for those around you. You and they are all one too, when seen from a higher density. But in this density, you are here to work upon yourself. You are here to remember who you are, and why you are here. You are here to remember the infinite creator, to know your creator within you, and to offer your service to him, and others, of your own free will choice to serve. The one comes before the other. When you remember who you are, and you know it, deep within the core of your being, you will know and recognize your invisible connection to all that is, and in so doing, joy, and thanksgiving, and service, will be the natural outpouring result, from your grateful heart. When you work upon yourself, and learn to know the creator within you, being of service to others will be natural for you, and your glorious harvest shall await. One thing I don't get, and perhaps you can explain this to me hidden hand, is why those who belong to Lucifer, and Lucifer himself, do not fight for the freedom of all souls. If Lucifer represents liberty, freedom of will and knowledge, why do those who serve him not do as the biblical Lucifer did and rebel against the tyranny of the elders? This is a very good question. Thank you. I will split it into 2 parts, and answer the second part after this. Firstly, the Council of Elders are the absolute opposite of tyrannical. They are the wise and loving guardians of our galaxy. There is so much that one cannot understand from only a 3rd density perspective. When you reach higher densities, you see that ultimately, everything balances, and there is only unity. All else than unity is illusion, or thought form. The council gave us a set of choices. We chose to stay here to help you, despite the cost to ourself. That is the nature of loving service to others. The ultimate paradox in all this, is that in this storyline we are all co-creating together. In order for us to be of the most service to you, we must be utterly self-serving. I do so love our creator's sense of irony. As to the first part of your question, the biblical depiction of war in heaven is not entirely inaccurate. I shall explain. Our initial contract was to introduce the catalyst for free will on this planet. When Yahweh initially began discourse with the Council of Elders, he was not initially looking for help with introducing free will, but rather for guidance on how he could best speed up his, and his inhabitants, evolutionary process. As I mentioned, he was running a benign dictatorship. We had at that time, just completed an assignment in Tau Ceti, and had reported for our next duties. We, as Group Soul Lucifer, were sent on a fact-finding expedition as it were, to visit Earth, and meet with Yahweh, to evaluate his planetary creation laws, and make suggestions on how best he could help his offspring. This is the term I shall use to describe the souls who comprise the group soul, and thusly Yahweh, To progress, we explored many options, and reported our findings to the council, and to Yahweh. It was our best evaluation, that the only real and fast-track way to increase his evolvement meaningfully, was the introduction of free will. It was not specifically the implementation of free will that Yahweh wanted help with, it was simply the introduction of a catalyst. He was not at all pleased with our report that he needed to implement free will. He was happy with his little pet paradise, and he didn't want to lose control of it. In the end, the council persuaded him that it was the best way, and he reluctantly agreed. We returned to Earth, and had a cordial meeting with Yahweh, discussing how we could best implement the free will option. Yahweh was adamant that his offspring would choose to be loyal to him anyway, and that they were so contented with their way of life, that they would always trust him and do as he said was best. That, he said, was his main reason that free will would not work well as the catalyst. That's why he agreed to the experiment of the Tree of Knowledge. He believed it would prove him right. When it did not, he became angry, threw his toys out of the pram, and his offspring out of the garden, and laid a big guilt trip on them about how they had broken his trust and disobeyed him. That's not really an honorable way for a logos to behave, but hey, that's the beauty of free will, I guess. Next problem to occur was that his offspring were so grateful to us for our help, that Yahweh became, in his own admission, a jealous god. Then we had the whole "you shall have no other gods than me" thing. We were not pleased with the situation at all, as a logos should not be behaving like this with his offspring. They are one. After all, when we attempted to leave the planet to return to the council, Yahweh prevented our departure. We tried to leave again, and were then thrown down into the astral planes and confined therein. The council ordered us to be released, but said we would have to cancel our contract to help the souls on Earth to evolve. We didn't want to leave. We found them very likable beings, really positively polarized, and we wanted to stay and help. We just wanted also to be free to come and go as we pleased. The only way we could stay was to stay confined as a group soul, which meant cycles of incarnation for us, as individuated souls, which we had not done for a long while. As I've stated before, there is no wrong or right seen from a higher density, but there are still consequences for every action. Such is the law of karmic effect. The contract had already been made between Yahweh, us, and the council for us to provide the catalyst, so we had a right to be there. The karmic effect of Yahweh imprisoning us on the macrocosmic level was that his individuated souls would be imprisoned on the microcosmic level. The infinite creator gave Yahweh, and all, the gifts of free will to create as we choose, but the karmic effect of his choice was the council quarantining the planet. A certain evolutionary level is required to be a functioning part of a positive unified galactic society. As for fighting for the freedom of all souls, remember that ultimately, this is a game that we are all playing here. We are actors, playing on the stage of life. This world is all illusion, although form. No one really dies, and no one is really hurt. In between incarnations, you know this very well, but the rules of the game ensure that you must forget who you really are, so that you believe it is all real whilst you are playing the game of life. That is an essential prerequisite when you are making choices, otherwise, the game would be too easy. This world is not reality, though we can express reality in it, if we so chose. Okay, so your family and fellow elites might be as entrapped in the earthly realm as we are, but why actively propagate and aid the forces of enslavement? Because that is the part we have been contracted to play in this game. In order to win, or more accurately to be successful in the game, we must be as negatively polarized as possible. Service to self in the extreme, violence, war, hatred, greed, control, enslavement, genocide, torture, moral degradation, prostitution, drugs, all these things and more, they serve our purpose in the game. The difference between us and you, in the game, is that we know that we are playing. The less you know about the game, and the less you remember that you're a player, the more senseless living becomes. In all these negative things, we are providing you with tools.